All right, y'all, welcome back to another discussion. Have you ever worked with a client, had a really good relationship with the client, but 6 months go by, a year goes by, maybe a few years go by, and that client has had very minimal success in the goals that they brought to you? You've tried time and time again to get them to comply on their own time to some things you've subscribed for them to try. They show up to the workouts. Maybe some of the time they work really hard. Maybe some of the time they're very distracted, and you end up talking a lot during that workout. That client really seeks out conversation for you. It's as if you are their therapist. And in many ways, that's just part of the game. Like if you're a coach for one-on-one personal training and you build a good relationship with your client, they're gonna divulge information to you. They're gonna bring their emotions to you. It's a beautiful part of the relationship. We can be really good outlets for our clients to dump some of their emotions on. If they can get from behind whatever's bothering them, there's a chance that they can then move forward and have a bit more progress in their life and in their workouts and towards their goals. But I want to come back to something. Lots of time has passed. They have not reached their success and their goals. They keep training with you because you've got a good relationship. They're happy. Maybe you're starting to get to the point in your brain where you're saying to yourself, man, this is a little less fulfilling for me, less rewarding for me, because you can see how long has gone by without your client reaching their goals. In my experience, this sucks. I'm making money on the client. They're consistently showing up. On the surface, they may seem happy because they enjoyed the time they spend with you. But you as a practitioner, you're there for them to reach the success in their goals, and they're just not getting there. Well, what are you going to do different now? You've applied your strategy time and time again, and you've gotten nowhere with your client. It's time to look at something new. It's time to take a different approach. And it's time to start recognizing what some of these hurdles are that are keeping your client from making progress. There are lots of things that have affected how we as individuals think and act. And those life experiences from childhood, teenage years, adulthood, they all have imprinted on us as we've gotten older. Adult experiences, just everything, how people treat us, what our daily interactions are like, how our family treats us. We have imprints. These imprints on us influence how we act, influences how our brain delivers emotional responses to things, influences how we have biases, and you've heard me talk about these before. It's not an easy topic to approach, both from the client and from the practitioner side, but the value in getting deeper in the underlying causes that are stopping your client from compliance with the goals, with the strategies you've asked them to implement, getting to those underlying reasons and talking about them, starting to understand deeper what drives your clients' choices and how they act can be extremely rewarding. Again, it's not easy. In my experience, most clients aren't really interested in going there. But if you stay on it time and time again, and you've got good rapport, and you take the time to educate yourself on some of these topics, then when you come to the client, you don't know what you don't know, you'll now have some resources. You'll know how to approach introducing these questions and these ideas to your client to see if you can get them to open up. If you can understand what's driving the choices that a client makes, then you're empowering yourself to then coach them differently. I'm going to come back to this negative bias concept. If a client's coming to you, I'm just going to use weight loss. It's such a significant part of so many people's fitness goals. A little bit of weight loss or a lot of weight loss. you hear the same things. I exercise or I don't. But let me go here. Let me go to the extreme. I exercise 2 to 3 days a week. I do a little bit of cardio and a little bit of strength training. And my diet, I eat a lot of salads. I intermittent fast. I don't eat breakfast. And I have a salad at lunch. And for dinner, sometimes I go out and sometimes I eat at home, or I order in. But I mostly eat salads. Yeah. And then you look at this person and they say, and I want to lose weight. And you say, oh, okay, well, how much weight do you want to lose? All right, I want to lose 20 pounds. All right, then you go deeper, you have some more conversation, and maybe you do an assessment. You get their composition and their body fat and things like this. And you start to put a reasonable picture together as to how much weight they could lose based on all these factors. And then you sit back and you think to yourself, this person works out 2 to 3 days a week, a mix of strength training and cardio. They only eat salads and they're overweight. They don't understand how to lose weight. They're doing everything on paper that seems like it would work. There are some things happening for this client. Any number of these things, one or many. They're in denial. They don't know what they don't know. They don't realize they're in denial. They're doing things that are outside of what they've described to you. They're not comfortable sharing the actual things they do with you. I'm not saying they're lying. I'm saying they may not realize how they're protecting their self-preservation patterning that keeps them from divulging actual truths. Being sensitive, not throwing things back in the client's face, but being very detailed in how you explain things, showing them on paper, writing things down, follow-up emails, experiences in the workouts. These are all different ways that you can get deeper with your client, but asking them questions and really trying to understand sort of where their faults are in what they're telling you. And then giving them positive reinforcement and strategies on how they can recognize that they're acting in these ways and then begin to improve on how they're acting. Look, our brain is amazing. It gives us the power to make very, very hard choices. It also protects us by giving us auto responses. Sure, most of us have heard of flight or fight. You're not choosing in the moment what's about to happen in your fight or flight response. Your brain and your body work harmoniously to get through whatever you need to get through. People black out, people disassociate. Our brains are powerful. So if you can start learning a little bit on brain training, and this is what we've been talking about this whole conversation. It's taboo for some people, brain training. I don't need therapy. It's not therapy. It's understanding how our brain default sets into patterns, recognizing those patterns, understanding how those patterns are limiting us, and then addressing those defaults to give us new patterns that are progressive and align with the goals that we want to. It's strengthening our brain just like we're trying to strengthen our body. Okay, so it's different than therapy. Although, we go back to the beginning, we're in many ways a therapist for our client. And so if we can empower ourselves with tools to be a better therapist, if you will, we're going to help our clients move forward and get beyond some of the things that are holding them back, that are keeping them from doing what we might consider relatively easy things on paper that have to do with exercise or lifestyle habit modification. Okay? A brain training, okay, is the concept. And there's so many different things you can get into. But the first thing I would encourage you, and you've heard me talk about it time and time again now in many of these videos, it's understanding negative bias and then how to have a communication with your clients about negative bias and pointing out to them different times in conversations you have with them or referencing back to times where they weren't accountable to themselves and their compliance to their exercise or the advice you give them when they're not compliant to that, how negative biases might be getting in the way. Offering them strategies to recognize their negative bias and then providing them strategies to overcome their negative bias. We're going to talk more about these and isolate these ideas in different videos, but anchors and nudges are fantastic ways to do this. If we can have an anchor, when we have a negative bias, we recognize it, we anchor that mindset to something, and then throughout the day, throughout the week, we have nudges that remind us about our anchor, reminders, if you will. Then we can start to, with frequency, expose our brain to a different line of thinking. And this new line of thinking will help to change and reset and develop new patterns. It's just like memorizing directions. And you've heard me say this before as well. You look at a map enough times, you drive to a location enough times, you don't need the map anymore. You memorize it. It becomes feel. You could be having conversations and listening to music and singing, and you get from point A to point B, and it just happens. That's what we're talking about with how our emotions are, how they respond, how our negative bias, how our defaults, our reactions. We can take control of these. Most of our clients may not even recognize, right, that they have this pattern. And they may initially say, oh, I don't want to change any of this. I like the way I am. My ego is powerful and it helps me be successful, or my stubbornness is powerful and it helps me be successful. And we're not trying to change who you are as a person. We're just trying to give you the ability to recognize where your shortcomings are as they apply to your goals that you've brought to us, and then how to implement a more structured strategy that is mind-body connection. Because after all, exercise is a mind-body connection. And so if we can enhance, again, how we think about things and how we approach things for our health and wellness goals, we can think differently, more expansive, more creatively, know more about things you never knew, or more know about things you thought you knew, or even things you were really good at, things you knew a lot about. Learning more. That's what it all comes down to. Hey, y'all, have a great day. Get out there, do some exercise, empower yourself, read something new. We'll see you soon.